and fees 100 times. We got rid of 20% of the regulations. We stopped being a pain in the butt to every citizen and every business. The federal government is a pain in the butt to all of us. They want to tell every one of us how to lead our lives. They want to tell every business how to lead their lives. And all you do is end up with a sluggish economy. If we don't grow this economy, we will never get out of this problem. We can't cut ourselves to success. You have to grow your economy, which grows your revenues. And your revenues grow exponentially if you can grow your economy. But there's not even a thought process up here to how to grow the economy.
One of the biggest things that we're hearing from Democrats is that Republicans want to cut Social Security and Medicare. Is that something you support?
That's a total lie. We've been hearing, campaigning. I heard that through 3 campaigns. I've never said that at all. We want to save Social Security, and the way we do it is primarily what Senator Scott was talking about. The number one component of a solution is economic growth, which is why we cut taxes in 2017, moving into 2018, and it worked. Look at how much revenue it's grown, over $1 trillion since then, and that is even with the COVID recession. So growing the economy is the number one component, but we still have to be fiscally responsible, and going from $4.4 trillion in spending to over $6 trillion and kind of laying that as a baseline is grossly irresponsible. And I've got to agree with Senator Brown and Senator Scott. In business, that happens all the time where you're asked to cut your budget 10% and people do it. So the private sector can do it. Why should the government be immune?
And you know
If you don't, you get fired.
And you know who cut Medicare? Is the Democrats. They did it in September in their spending bill. They cut $280 billion out of Medicare. So they want to say Republicans want to cut Medicare. None of us support cutting Medicare benefits, but they actually did it.
Again, times 4, $1.3 trillion. That we spend $1.2 trillion a year on Social Security. That's the magnitude of what we're talking about because of this out of control spending and these deficits. In business, we're the board of directors, okay? You don't go to the manager and say, this is specifically where you're going to cut. You go to them and say, cut your budget 10%. And then you have those managers do it. So you're going to rely on the people in the agencies to do it the best way, but we've got to starve some of these agencies.
Senator, do you expect the House Republicans to pass the budget before the definite deal later this year? And do you think can the fiscal reforms you want be achieved through discretionary spending cuts alone, or do some look at whatever they?
Yeah, obviously, my words were distorted by saying we do need to. If we're going to get ourselves out of this debt hole, we're going to have to look at everything every year. You can't just wall off 7% of the budget and say we're not going to look at it. It's just an automatic pilot. I mean, that is what is driving us into this debt crisis right now. But in terms of when the House is going to do things, that'll be up to the House. I'm here today to support their efforts and do everything we can to encourage people who've never voted for an appropriation bill or a debt ceiling to say, if we're going to get the best deal possible, you're going to be willing to vote for these things. I'm willing to do it here in the Senate.
So, Senator Johnson, who in the House are you talking to? You said you're talking to.
No, we're talking to conservatives in the House. I'll leave it at that.
Are these some of the folks that got concessions from McCarthy during the validating procedure?
No, the conservatives in the House.
We all have relationships in our
Yeah.
states too. We're talking to all of those.
Senator Johnson, since Speaker McCarthy's election, it seems like House members and leaders have kind of backtracked on this idea of cutting funding to the military. Some like police even gone as far as to say that that's not on the table. That's not something that they're going to entertain. So is that something that's acceptable to you? I mean, all of you could be on board with that.
I think you have to look at all spending. I'm making the point, it's a step-by-step process. First of all, you have to understand how much we're spending. People don't even understand that basic. That's what I was pointing out when I was asking that question prior to the omnibus vote. Now, how much we spend annually? Nobody knew. So you have to familiarize yourself with the numbers. We're the board of the directors, and so many of the members of the board have no idea what we spend. They just vote for these omnibus spending bills without ever reading them. That's complete dysfunction. That has to change.
Speaking of the numbers, because someone asked about raising revenues, I put through a privilege motion, and Rand's done it often, a balanced budget over 10 years in my case. And the biggest data set that we collected was that over 50 years, regardless of the tax rate, our revenues stay about 18 to 18.5% of the GDP. check it out. When you have a high rate, you're going to generate a lower economic activity. If you got a lower rate, it was just proven. I almost had the CBO admitting that pre-COVID, the tax cuts that were done in 2017 were paying for themselves. Plus, we had an economic growth of 2.5% to 3%. So the whole idea that you can raise revenues to do it, that's not going to work. 50 years of data show that those hang in that narrow range. So that means that you're going to have to do it growing the economy, which was mentioned earlier. That's one easier way to do it. And then holding your expenditures into that historical band of revenues that we raise, proven over 50 years.
What's your reaction to the administration's plan to allocate to Ukraine?
We just came from a secure briefing on that. The question I had is, how are they gonna change the dynamics on the field? So I certainly want to support the people of Ukraine, but at some point in time, we're gonna start recognizing what the reality of the ground is. Thank you.